The roster is set. Let's get the season going, baby. Welcome to the ArmChair GM podcast.
Well, we got some Flames news after season beginning waivers all went through, and obviously Jacob Peltier and Devin Cooley made it through, and unfortunately Cole Schwint got claimed, I think, by Vegas. Before we get into that, though, how about the new theme song from Rocky Mountain Maniacs? Check them out on Facebook. We'll have and Spotify and all that. We'll have the link down in the description below. Yeah, lots to get into with the Flames.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting times. We now know what the roster is going to look like for opening night on Wednesday against Vancouver. It's going to be fun. You know, let's see what this sort of young bunch has to offer for this season coming up. You know, got a couple of new additions to the lineup, which is good, but not as many as I would like. The Craig Conroy era essentially starts now, so let's see what he's building. You know, obviously, I think you and I are in agreement that a couple of the signings that happened this summer, or even Barry at the end of camp there, I think are just going to be sign and trades. At least I sure do hope so. So we'll see, right? Obviously, you know, the more I watched Mantha play through the preseason, the less I wanted him on my team. So I'm hoping that get some kids that have come up and shine and force Craig's hand and letting him trade an elderly player, so to speak, somebody that's been around. You know, he's well known around the league, so I don't think there'll be an issue trading him. It's just what will his value be? You know, they're going to be more than a second or a third. Probably not.
Yeah, I'm not expecting too much value out of either of them, which is kind of, you know, one of the reasons why I'm a little confused at the signings in the first place. Like, you know, when we signed Mantha, we didn't know if Coronado and Honzek and Stromgren and some of these kids are, you know, looking as close as they look, if not actually NHL ready. But when we signed Barry, like we already know that we have, you know, Grushnikov, possibly Kuznetsov, Solovyov, maybe Brustevich, pretty much ready to go. And even if they're not ready, they're ready for, you know, 5-10 games, you know, trials. And for some reason we got Hanley, who cleared waivers as well a few days ago, and not Hanley, Tenorti cleared waivers a few days ago, and Hanley's still on the team. I don't mind that so much because he's a healthy scratch pretty much most days, but just the trickle down, right? Because now that Barry signed, we waived Tenorti, and then Tenorti's taking, you know, going to be taking AHL minutes away from guys like Brustevich, Kuznetsov, Solovyov, Grushnikov. You know, there's 4 guys right there.
And I would be okay if either one of those guys made the squad as the 6-7. To be honest, I mean, I was fairly impressed. Like Solovyov, I think looked fairly decent, and Kuznetsov, I think he was you know, he was good, and Bruchette, right? Like I think he's the one that everybody's really keen to see get some NHL minutes. You know, at least
as well. Like they all look good to me.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of stuff that I was irritated by, to be honest.
I mean, more that I was irritated by from Barry, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I wasn't super pumped about what Poirier was bringing to the table, but he's still young, right? And defensemen normally develop later anyway, so I'm not too worried about him. But
Absolutely, and
I don't think he's the number one defensive prospect on the team anymore.
Oh no, I think he's down to 3 or 4 now, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean he won't vault himself back up to 1, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like who knows? It's nice to have so many options, so many young options, and I kind of want to get into reasons to be excited for the Flames this year, because I think a lot of people are kind of worried that we're going to be mid. I can't see that, but I think we're going to be fairly bad, to be honest, when it comes to the win-loss column. But I also think that we're going to be really exciting when it comes to watching young guys, step up and start producing and show flashes. And like it's starting right now, honestly, as much as we just talked about the defense and the fact that Brstevich and Grushnikov and Solovyov, all those guys, they're not actually getting their chance right now. I think that most of them will have some games throughout the year. When it comes to up front, both Coronado and Honzek made the team. It's looking like Coronado is probably going to be the extra forward for now, whereas Honzek is playing on a line in practice anyway with Kuzmenko and Kadri, which is quite interesting to me. And that's really unfortunate. Why it's happening is, obviously Yegor Sharangovich got hurt right at the end of the last preseason game, and he's weak right now. We don't know what it is for sure, but it's
lower body. It looked like knee or ankle, right? Knee or ankle. The way he went down, it didn't look great. Obviously it's super unfortunate because coming off the season he had last year, people were pretty pumped. We got the contract. We're excited to see him go, and let's see what he can truly be on the top two lines. Likely more on the top line, and then to have his season just cut off like that so far. I mean, we don't know how long he's going to be out, but week to week is never a good way to start a season.
Oh, it's not a good way to start. I was listening to Huska talk on Flames Talk today, I think, and he was saying that it's not nearly as bad as it could have been, and they're optimistic that it won't be very long, which is nice to hear. I mean, it might not be so nice for Coronado and Honzek, which is honestly like I'm excited to watch guys like Kuzmenko and Sharangovich as well. But I think the main purpose of this year is for us to be watching the likes of Zari and Pospisil and Honzek, Coronado, whichever young defenseman ends up coming up throughout the year, right? And I'm really excited for that because I think we're going to see all sorts of young, talented players find their roles in the NHL for their first years or maybe second years.
Absolutely. I'm really kind of excited for that fourth line with Klapka, Rooney and Lombo, right? I think that's going to be a pretty cool line to watch. Lomberg and Klapka really seem to play well together through the couple of games of preseason they played together. I mean, there's about 1.5 feet difference in height between the two of them, but they're both just as scrappy.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch too because we all know Ryan Lomberg. He likes to get in, get dirty, piss people off, and he's not the type of guy who's just going to go hide behind Klapka, but he's certainly going to laugh at somebody who tries to tangle with him. And when Klapka starts walking up or skating up and answering the bell, right? Like,
yeah, I think it'll be pretty funny to watch. Ryan, kind of getting into somebody's face while Klapka's right behind him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody's a bit tougher when there's a 6'8" guy behind you ready to step in and take care of business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot to be excited about. I would like to have seen more youth get injected into the lineup right from the start, but I'm assuming we're going to go with a bit of a revolving door approach if we can. Bring guys up for 9 games, send them down, that sort of thing. I think I think the fans are going to be happy with what Honzek can bring. I I tell you what a great way to start his camp. That he wasn't all that good in the young stars, but as soon as he got playing in the big arena, he excelled, right?
He
I think he's
stepped
going to
up.
turn into be a pretty decent power forward. He drives so hard to the net with the puck. I really like watching him come in there and skirt around guys.
It's exciting to watch, and I remember a lot of people, back when he got drafted, there was the odd comparison from experts to Mikko Rantanen. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know what? He's going to be Mikko Rantanen because, nobody is Mikko Rantanen
Right.
except for him. Uh, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say Klapka is going to be, a 100-point player who wins a Stanley Cup and, all of it. I'm hoping he wins the Stanley Cup, but
Sure.
I think that
Yeah.
there were a couple plays where he drove the net and even some nifty passing plays he had throughout camp that did remind me of Rantanen. It kind of made me think back to those comparisons and be like, you know what? Maybe that wasn't so ridiculous because I
Yeah.
see it. Obviously not to the Rantanen extent, but I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. To a lesser degree for sure, but I mean, it's early on in his career, right? I
Who
mean,
knows?
we don't know what the end result's going to be with Honzek.
Wouldn't that be
I'm
amazing?
excited. Yeah, yeah. If that ends up being a fair comparison in year 2, 3, 4, hell yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Bring it on. I mean, obviously, people would be excited about that. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping for the 24-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. If you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
And something that really strikes me this year, whether it be in that mini series the Flames are doing, the behind the scenes series, I think it's called The Chase. I've watched 2 episodes of that so far. I don't know if there's any more out right now, but I watched that, and obviously I've been watching all of training camp and the young stars and all sorts of media from that. And I think one thing that really steps out from the last couple years is it seems like pretty much everybody wants to be in Calgary, which seems like a ridiculous thing that we're so worried about. But that, we come by that honestly as a fan base, right? Like,
Yeah.
there has been a lot of players
Yeah,
wanting out, and that's fair. Their coach was really fucking hard on them. A couple superstars left. More players wanted to leave because the team wasn't as competitive as they thought it was going to be. Whatever, right? It happens. It sucks, but it happens. And now it just seems like everybody's really positive. Everybody's happy to be there. Everybody is trying really hard to make an impact. And there's a lot of like whether it's Hanzek or Devin Cooley, who got sent down, but Andrei Kuzmenko, like there's a lot of guys, Igor Sharangovich even, there's a lot of comedy going on. There's a lot of, smiles and like honest smiles. Well, I mean, I'm not in the room, so I don't know if it's honest smiles, but it seems like honest smiles. It seems like they like each other again, which it didn't seem like for a couple of years there.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, when Monahan and Lindholm and Gaudreau were playing together, there's that brotherhood that was going on, and there was different groups of that, and they all fed off each other, right? And that's it was contagious, the happiness with with the top line doing so well, and then it just trickles down to the rest of the team, and then when you have a couple of your key players leave, and the mood inside the dressing room changes for whatever reason, whether it be coaching, whether it be just bad attitude from players, or whatever the situation is, if you can get those players out of the room and start
Uncertainty.
injecting some youth and some will and drive again into that room where people want to succeed, and they want to have their chance. So of course they're going to be happy when they're sitting in the main Flames dressing room, and not in the Wranglers dressing room, or in the WHL or whatever the case, right? This is the end result. This is where they've all wanted to be. This is why they've been playing the game for so long, is to make the NHL, and now they have the chance. They're happy, they're motivated, and it's just gonna build a better culture in the organization.
One thing I find really underrated, even though like you look at some teams like maybe Anaheim, Columbus to a certain extent. There's some teams out there where maybe they don't or didn't have the veteran presence that they needed when they first started the rebuild, like we do. But I find what's really underrated is having so many young players growing through the organization together. Building, like you even look at like Zari and Wolf have been playing together for years, right? For a few years now. You look at some of the other players throughout like Poirier has been playing with some of these guys for a few years, and then they're adding some more youth to those young guys who already have a bond and a friendship. And like Zari and Peltier were roommates a couple years ago, and it's nice to see everybody growing up together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, these guys are gonna, especially in a couple of years, playing NHL minutes, in front of the, the big lights. They're gonna become a family.
Yeah.
Which people produce more when they're happy. That's just the nature of it, right? So I think
Absolutely.
the
Think about
way
yourselves
things
at
are
work.
happening right now. Yeah, 100%.
Right? If work is going shit, then you're generally not doing so good at work, right? If work and life and everything is going well, then usually you're a little better at work. It's just
thanks.
It's
they're
natural.
not going to dread coming to the arena, right?
Yeah.
And we will be able to start out with the new arena with a happy clan, and obviously they're going to be super stoked for it, I would imagine, right? Coming out of the Saddle Dome, which, for the record, I love. Been going there since they built it. But
I love it too, but it is time.
It is time. Yeah, the new arena excites me for sure.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to. Yeah, she sure does. I just want to have the opportunity to buy a couple of the chairs, because I'll be putting them up in the room here.
Yeah, we should. You should let me know if you get any of those offers, and I'd like to get one of those. Maybe have one of them to be my podcast chair.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to the contact that we're going through right now for potential sponsorship for my company, and we're talking about when they actually start gutting that place and how it's if it's going to be available for fans to purchase certain things like seats and posters or whatever, right? And it's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to have an auction for that stuff. So I went, okay, good. So
Yeah.
he told me he'll keep me in the loop in a couple of years when they make that move.
I'm sure there's some really awesome stuff. I'm sure they're going to move a bunch of that stuff from the dome to the new spot too. But there's
Yeah.
one specific poster, and I know this sounds fucking ridiculous, especially considering the people we know and how much they talk about Michael Stone. But I know there's a Hitman Michael Stone poster in there. I want that thing so bad. I don't know
I've got to think of
why
where
that
that is.
specifically, but I want that.
That's funny. I just want the Eve Bellinger's mask that's on the side, right? So I can, 'cause I got the tattoo for it.
I
I want that mask. I mean, it's a little big. I mean, it's like 25 feet tall,
I
but
heard they were moving that.
bringing it over.
I think so. I
Good.
could be wrong though, but I think I heard they're moving that
Nice.
to the
Nice.
new
Well,
arena.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I wanted to talk about a couple of other players. Like, obviously, it's exciting that Honzek and Coronado are getting a shot here and all that type of stuff. I'm really and anyone who listens to this show for the last couple of years will know I'm really excited for Connor Zary to continue his journey. I really like this player. He's just so smart, and I think one really cool thing about him, he reminds me of you know the Backlund bump over the last few years, how a
Right.
lot of players have either been struggling and played well with Backlund or played well with Backlund and no one else, like Mangiapane, for instance. I had to throw that in there. Or like, Kachuk took a couple years to really hit his stride because, and then he started playing with Backlund for a few years, and then he really hit his stride and became an elite player. I feel like that could be Zary's future role, and with a higher offensive upside, because
God, I hope so.
I haven't seen a player he hasn't been able to play with. I don't know if you know what I mean, but
Yeah.
he's got chemistry with Pospisil. He's got chemistry with Kadri. He's got chemistry with Huberdeau. He's got chemistry with Sharangovich. He's got chemistry with Kuzmenko on the power play a couple times. Anyone that they've tried to play him with, even in the preseason, he played with Backlund and Coleman, and they had some chemistry. Like anyone who he's played with, it might not be that line pops off for several goals that game, but they always are around it and they're always buzzing.
That's one of the things, and I know you're I mean, this whole Zary thing from you is coming right out of left field. You've never spoke highly of him before,
I know, right?
so I'm not sure what to take from that. I know you've wanted him to be at center,
Yeah.
For a bit now, and one of my hesitations, like I do understand your reason behind it, and I think he would do very well at it. But I think one of the things that makes him really good at what he does on the ice and how he fits well with other players is the fact that he's able to be the guy out at the hash marks in the corner, back to defense and moving around because he's very crafty on the boards and setting up plays or taking the puck from a defender or just being in the right position. And I feel like putting him at center, we're going to lose some of that because his primary role is going to be in front of the net, behind the net, front of the net, behind the net. You know what I mean? And so I feel like it, as far as his creativity, I think it'll hinder him a little. I'm sure he'll find ways to make a liar out of me at the center position, but That's one of the things I've always appreciated of his game is how crafty he is, how he's able to get open in certain situations, or how he's able to become open with the puck. Right.
So,
That's
so to your point, one of my favorite qualities in the offensive zone of Zari's is his ability to attack off of the boards. You remember how rest in peace, Johnny Gaudreau used to always pull into the zone, get about on the boards about the hash mark area, but on at the boards, and then button hook, turn around, and try and make a play. Zari often does that, but instead of trying to make a play, he'll button hook and attack the net and throw everybody off. And I really enjoy that. And you're right, you'd lose that at center. But another one of the things that I really like about Zari is he often scores from rebounds, and he often scores from like quite literally his stick is behind the goalie because he's that close to the goalie, or the goalie's a fish out of water and he's the guy who's that close to the net. And that's
which is funny because he starts to play from the hash marks or the top of the circle, and then just all of a sudden he's like behind the goalie, in between the goalie and the net. It's like, where the hell did he come from?
Yeah, it's uncanny, and it happens all the time, and I love it. I think this kid, like, I'm not gonna be here saying Connor Zary is gonna be the next fucking Matthew Tkachuk and just be a 100-point player every year and all that type of stuff. But I think that he can, in his future, starting this year even, I think he can push close to the point of game type of area and possibly stay there for quite a few years, for 5-8 years type of thing, and stay in that point of game range. But you don't have to be 110 point player to be effective. And the fact that he can jump up and down the lineup because he can play with anybody is really, really important too. I hope we keep this kid for a long time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And also he's very responsible in our zone as well. Right. So I feel like he's going to be, obviously not, I'm not going to say he's going to be the same level, as Pasternak or even Lindholm as far as, defensive player. I think he has more offensive upside than Lindholm. But if he can become half of the defensive player as Lindholm while producing points, frig yeah, bring it on. That's
and I
super
think
exciting to me. Yeah, I mean, I've for like midway through last year, I was thinking to myself that I could see him being between 70 and 85 points for a long time.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I have him in my brain. At least, not necessarily this year, but I think next year and moving forward, or potentially this year, right? He should make a bit of a jump from last year, and last year he had a pretty impressive season.
I'm interested to see, because they seem pretty dead set on lining him up next to Backlund and Coleman, which again, that's where Tkachuk learned the ropes, right? Like, why the fuck not?
Exactly. I don't mind him learning from either one of those guys, right?
I don't mind either, right? At all.
They both play the game the right way.
I find it interesting that Sharon Govich's spot next to Kuzmenko and Kadri opened up, and they didn't move Zary up there. So I think maybe they might be focusing Zary on defense, or like just strong two-way play this year, learning from those two guys. And it's funny because for a couple of years I've kind of projected Zary to be Vinny Trocheck-ish. No, I've said that a few times. I don't know if you remember, but I kind of find Coleman to be very similar to Vinny Trocheck as well. Underrated scoring ability, very good two ways, gets under the opponent's skin, can play multiple positions, relatively physical, right?
Tough
And
as nails.
tough as nails. And that's the type of guy I see Zeri being with a little bit more offense, right? And
Yeah.
just I could go on for hours about Zeri, but let's move on.
I've already changed the thumbnail in my brain. I'm kidding.
Yeah. No,
We'll do a show at some point. We'll just call it the Zari show.
yeah.
And we'll let you go off for an hour.
It'll be I'll just talk in circles with what I said over the last like 10 minutes. I'll just say that in like 5 different ways.
So you're saying I should just clip all the bits and just put it together into a Zari mashup?
Yeah, why not? So I have a question for you.
Okay.
Want to keep this show relatively short, but which players, because we're mid rebuild or start of rebuild or whatever, which vets do you see being traded this year?
Do I see being traded this year?
Put you on the spot. We didn't talk about this before, but put you on the spot a little bit, maybe.
I would imagine it depends on the contract negotiation for Kuzmenko. I think that'll be the tell-all for that. I mean, we're sitting at 18 million in cap space at the moment, so it's, we have the space to sign him for a couple of years, and I personally want Conroy to sign him. But as far as being traded, I'm fearful that Anderson's time may be coming to an end here. We've got some bright spots waiting for jobs in the A, and he's had his struggles in the last year and a half, which is super unfortunate because I think you and I both had him as the future captain 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
The unfortunate part on that at the moment is his trade value is literally hasn't been lower in his entire career. So that's unfortunate. It makes it
For a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like really low. I still I've heard a lot of people say it's probably, like what a first and a young player and like a young roster player and a prospect and another pick. Yeah,
I mean,
I'd be happy
if Craig can do it,
first and a roster player.
I feel like at the moment it's a first and a roster player, and I think before he got ran over by that car or hit by that car in Detroit, I feel like it would have been a first, a decent roster player, and an A prospect for sure.
Yeah,
at the very least. Right?
Yeah, I mean, he was working on becoming an actual at that point an actual power play one defenseman, which he has been throughout his career, but he was never that good at it. But around that time he was becoming really good at it, and then that kind of fell off a cliff, and then he got taken over by Hanifin and then taken over by Uyghur, which has been a really good fit. But I'm fearful that we lose him because I still think he is very good, whether he's, not as good as he was a couple of years ago. I still think he's quite good. And
eats a lot of minutes, and he
eats
is
a lot of
a
minutes,
good
and
defender.
that's what I worry about. I don't want him to be moved, and then Brustevich to come in. Let's say it's Brustevich or whoever else it might be. And that guy to be relied on too much because the only other defenseman on the team is Uyghur, right? Like as much as Miramonov and Barry and whatever, you need guys who can eat minutes. Barry's never been a minute guy. He's a power play quarterback that you want to scratch for the rest of the game, but you can't.
Yeah.
And Miramonov is like a younger Barry to me. I just don't get that fucking signing at all. And
No,
I
I
just don't want us to be thrown like I want these guys to get a chance. The Brusteviches next year, Perek, Grushnikov, whoever else. I want these guys to get the chance, but I don't want them to be thrown to the wolves and in turn have Wolf or Vladar or Cooley or whoever be completely demoralized because they never have a chance on anything. Know what I mean?
right. Yeah. No, and that's fair. I can again in my opinion, I can see Maramonov being packaged or traded out. Obviously, I'm a believer that Barry will be traded at the deadline. Someone that's going to want a power play quarterback going into the playoffs. So I think as far as the defense, we do have some options there. I can't see Mantha finishing the year here. Is Rooney going to finish? I mean, he's kind of at that age where, I mean, how old is he? He's got to be, what, 29, 30, I think?
I think he's around that age. And
Yeah.
I don't hate
I don't.
him being on the team because
No, me neither.
you can use a fourth line center and you can also use a 13th forward, right? Like,
Yeah.
and he's comfortable with that position and he's also comfortable with being waived. Like,
Yeah.
it's important to have Derek Ryan. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Not that Rooney's as good as Derek Ryan is, but
Right.
that guy who's like, yeah, I can be scratched. Yeah, I can be the fourth line center. Yeah, I can, maybe not with Derek Ryan, but be moved down to the minors and not be too upset. Like.
Listen, we all know that going to the game live is way better than watching it on TV. So why not try the Game Time Picks? Only at gametime.co. Game Time Picks make it easier to save money on sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater, and everything else. Got all-in-one pricing, which is fantastic, so you know what your upfront cost is right away. You can look at seat views with panoramic. It's got the lowest price guaranteed. The game time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Oh, it's game time. I could see Coleman being moved out. Not saying that I want him to be, but I feel like he can fetch you a fairly decent return.
Yeah.
I truly believe that if Backlund wants to go somewhere and win a cup before his career is coming to an end, then I think he has that option. But I also can see him finishing his entire career as a Flame.
So he's 10 games, I believe, away from 1,000.
Yeah.
And he's like 2.5 seasons away from passing Iginla for games played.
For all that. Yeah.
So I think that he's conceded himself to them, to being the Flames guy. And as much as that sucks, because you want you guys to want to win, and obviously he does, but I think that when he made his decision to not leave before he resigned there, I think that was kind of his family decision, was Calgary for the rest of my career.
Yeah, and kudos for him. I have no problem with him finishing out his career here, especially because he's got what, like 3 more years?
Yeah, like
4 at most, kind of thing.
He's gonna pass again for the games played in Calgary Flames history, and then he's gonna retire at the end of that year.
Exactly.
That's my prediction.
Yeah, I can see that. So I guess as far as veterans, that just leaves us Huberdeau and Kadri. I think Kadri will get moved. I don't know if it'll be this year. He still has a couple more years on that, in my opinion, terrible contract. Even though he did have a really good season last year and was worthy of that $7 million. But I think the length of time on his contract is going to be the hindrance, and I think we'll end up eating a bunch of salary on that over a stretch of time.
And it'll suck, but it'll be nice because at that point we'll have hopefully some centers coming up, right? Like whether it's maybe Zari gets moved back over or Lipinski or Basha or I think there's a lot of guys in the minors they don't know. Maybe Hanzek moves over, right? Like by that time maybe we'll have some centers coming up. I agree with you.
Well,
I don't think Kadri's getting moved this year. As much as I think it's the best option is to move him before it's too late, and he's 32 or 33 and it's becoming too late, especially with the length on the deal. But I can appreciate what he's done for the Flames over the last couple of years, especially last year with Pospisil and Kadri and even Kuzmenko, kind of helping Kuzmenko out. And yeah.
And I mean, just a caveat, or just want to throw this out there. Like I'm not looking for any of these guys to be traded.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with them being there and teaching the kids how to play the game properly. Because when you look like after that, like we've got a lot of young players. We've got
up front
Pospisil, we've got Sharon Govich, we've got Zari, we've got Kuzmenko is still pretty young. We've got Klapka, we've got Hanzek, Coronado.
Pushing 30, but he's only had 2 years in the league, which is why he's not.
Yeah, he's what, 28, isn't he? 27,
I think he's 29.
28?
I think.
Yeah, could be.
I'll look it up. Continue talking.
Yeah. So I mean, like we have plenty of youth, or at least in my opinion, I think we should be sticking around the 22 to 25 year range for some of these guys that are on the roster and learning from the veterans, so they can be the ones that teach the next group that come in next year and the year before, right? Or a year after that, sorry. So I think Conroy's done a good job of injecting both veteran and youth into the lineup. I would like to see a bit more of the youth at the defense side. I do understand your worry on it not being a super, not being a good situation for the goaltending. But I mean, most of these guys have been playing with Wolf for a while. I feel like he trusts, quite a few of them already, and I'm hoping that maybe their communication and style of play that they've been playing together for 2 years, kind of thing. Maybe that'll rub off at the NHL level, and then they'll end up having a good time with it. Who knows?
Yeah,
but I think we've got a decent amount of youth in there. Aside from the two ridiculous signings that we did this year, because those positions could have easily been filled with what was happening at training camp and the preseason. But
I just want to say, like, on that note, because I know you're talking about Barry and Mantha, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
If it was 2-3 years ago and we were looking for around the edges pieces to take us over the top, absolutely.
Yep.
I think that those guys are just holding back young players, and I don't know that having Coronado scratched half the time and keeping all the young guys on the blue line from moving up is worth the possible second and third that we get for both of those guys combined at the deadline.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather see the young players develop a little bit at the NHL level, move down, get AHL time, move back up, get some more NHL games. Like I'd rather see that. As great as Barry seems, I mean, everyone knows he's this great locker room guy, and that's great. And at one point we needed that. But right now we have Kuzmenko and Coleman and Backlund and even Kadri. Like these are great locker room guys. Even Anderson and Uyghur and Huberdeau to some extent, right? Like we have these great veterans who are great locker room guys. We don't need more. And I don't know if the late second and late third that we likely get, this is like, I don't know if that's what their value will be at the trade deadline, but that's my assumption. Is worth holding the young guys back. We're rebuilding. We got to develop them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, no offense to either one of those players, but for me, the need was not that. For me, the need was get the youth in there. Let's start this rebuild. And all we're doing is just filling roster spots with older players that, quite frankly, couldn't find jobs anywhere, right? Barry on a PTO for like, those aren't the players we need. Yeah. Why we're being the charity group? So is that?
One thing I do like,
years
though,
old, and he's.
It seems that Conroy is trying to mold the values of the team and the attitude of the team off of himself. If you know what I mean.
Sure.
Conroy being this happy-go-lucky, great locker room guy. And I feel like he hasn't brought in any bad locker room guys, and he's shipped off a few bad ones.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Like, I wonder if that was by design. Like, I assume it was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they do their homework, right? Like, it couldn't have just been like they targeted Kuzmenko. From what I hear, they targeted him because of his skill, but also like they did work. We were on his no trade list, and they did work to get him to waive that.
Yeah.
Because of his attitude.
And you know what? Fuck him putting us on his no trade. Okay.
Hey, he changed his mind and he seems to like it now. And you saw that fireside chat or whatever where Kuzmenko was asked if he had to have any 2-on-2 partner from the locker room to play with, and he basically just ripped into half of his teammates.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
And he even said, like, at one point he was like, "Oh, when we get back into the locker room, this is going to be problem." Okay, that's enough. And then he gave the microphone back. It was hilarious. And like all of them were laughing, right? Like it's just this guy's comical.
Yeah,
I'll show
he
you
is
that
really
video
good
after, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, I do like his interviews. They're a lot of fun. Same with Sharon Govich. His interviews are a lot of fun too. I think he has a really cool sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like, he's very quiet and reserved.
It's dry, but it's also the language
Yeah.
barrier makes it better. And that's the same with Kuzmenko.
Yeah.
Whereas Cooley's just ridiculous.
Yeah, he seems like he would be a lot of fun to hang out with, to be honest.
A lot.
I'm glad he wasn't
He'd be a lot to hang out with.
Yeah, it would be high energy.
Yeah. Do you have much else you want to say, or?
I don't think so. So I want to let everybody know that we're going to be going live after Wednesday's game. So stay tuned. The link will drop in YouTube at some point before the game, I suspect. But yeah, keep an eye out on X and the GM _ ArmChair GM _ pod, and and also on Facebook. We'll have the links there available for you. So make sure you join us for that conversation. We like to interact with everybody that's watching, answer questions, comments, concerns, whatever the case may be. We like to have a lot of fun, so make sure you join us for that. That'll be Wednesday after the game. So
And you can say hi to Chris's wonderful dog Nova, who's right behind them at the moment.
Yeah. Maybe I'll put her Flames shirt on.
Yeah. And make sure you check out Rocky Mountain Maniacs, the band that wrote our theme song, and let us know how you feel about the Flames' upcoming season and training camp in the comment section below.
Mm-hmm.
Share us with your friends, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Ding, ding, ding. Go Flames, go. I'm excited for the season. I'm so over preseason. As fun as it was, I'm so over it.
Yeah.
Let's get some regular season hockey going. Go Flames, go.
Yeah. Go Flames.